Growing up, I gotta say I had a really good childhood. I had a really good family. What's interesting is I feel like my life started before I was born. A few weeks before I was born, my father was killed in a boating accident. So I grew up with my mother, my sister, and when I was about 7 years old, she remarried my stepfather. And for some reason, I think it could have been maybe a resentment for having another male figure in my life. I just started really veering off the wrong way, starting in my mid-teens, really just getting in a lot of trouble, hanging out with the wrong crew, smoking pot, drinking, and that kind of took me down a path that really took me places I didn't want to go in life. It started with just hanging out, smoking pot. We started getting into a lot of fights. Eventually it turned into dealing pot, dealing those nickel bags and dime bags, turned into dealing ounces, and then ounces turned into dealing quarter pounds and then pounds. And before I knew it, I actually had a fairly sizable business. Looking back on it, the life was actually really dangerous. There was a point where, me and my co-workers, so to speak, would drive around with guns, money, and drugs. And at the time, I was really just in this dark place. I was angry to the point where I would just erupt and I would get in a fight with somebody and literally would black out and not even remember the fight until one of my friends would shake me and just say, "Hey, stop hitting this kid." Inside, it was something that I was kind of tormented by, and that made me even more angry. Eventually, as things started getting more intense with the fighting and with the drug dealing, I got myself into a lot of trouble with the law. A slap on the wrist turned into a 90-day sentence, which turned into another 90-day sentence. And when I first got locked up, it was like another badge of honor, like, oh, I got locked up, I'm gonna come out and people are just gonna respect me more. But after you spend some time behind bars and you have no access to the outside world and you're absolutely forced to just contemplate, there was one day, and I'll never forget it. I remember exactly where I was, sitting on a bench outside, and I said, what the fuck am I doing here? What am I doing with my life? I'm literally throwing it away. It was the first time in my life that I actually acknowledged that I didn't like the person that I was. I remember it was a visit that my mother came to see me, and she said, "This is killing me. I'll always be here with you, but I just can't do this anymore." She left and she wasn't coming back. To me, it wasn't getting locked up that made me hit rock bottom. It was losing my family. Right then and there that day, I went back into my cell and I was crying. And within an instant, everything in my mind shifted. I would go into the library and read any book that I can get my hands on. I read the Bible front to back. I started to write poetry, and I just started thinking, how can I be a better person when I get out? I felt that I had already fallen so deep, and I actually felt helpless. I said, you know what? I said, at this point, I have violent crimes underneath me, I have drug crimes underneath me. Even if I go out and try to be a good person to society, society just doesn't want me anymore. But I just kept moving forward, and I said, I'm gonna make something of myself. That day was my rock bottom, but it was also probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. The meaning of the lessons that I learned has really changed throughout time, because things in your life will shape you, and it's the meaning that you give to them. It's what lens are you viewing things from? What questions are you asking yourself when things are happening to you? Learning to take those stumbles that you have in life and putting a meaning to them. The meaning can be anything you want it to be, but I choose to find something positive in the messages. The person that I used to be molded who I am today. What I once used to look at as being a negative, I've just flipped it. I just changed the lens that I look at things through. I've really done a lot of things in my life that I'm not proud of. Do I wish I can take a lot of them back? Absolutely. But at the same time, I look at the person that I am now, and I feel like there's always been a good person inside me, but now I'm driven to take all of that and pay it forward. And that's the whole reason I started my podcast. That's the whole reason that I want the art of inspiration to touch even just one person. Because if you can give back something to someone, it'll never take back anything that I've ever done in my life, but that's my way of being able to take everything that I went through, so you don't have to go through it, and inspire you that no matter where you are in your life, you could always come from rock bottom and you can make yourself a massive success. You just have to move yourself forward.